Throw that under the tree?
What?
Or the porch? You throw it under the porch?
I'm gonna kill it.
Roasted. It's good. You have electricity?
The first one doesn't work so well. The one outside works.
You got electricity in your room?
Yeah. It just stopped working like 2 days ago. Seriously.
Like, you would pay the bill.
You guys are doing everything normally do. Il y a des choses qui vont. Can you see? You can't see your mic cord in your lens.
As well. And then we'll probably do like an hour or two. So we'll just talk and hang out or whatever.
What time we leaving out? What time you plan on getting out of here?
Probably like, when do you want to leave? After like 4 hours.
After like 4 o'clock or something like that?
Yeah.
What time is it now? 11. Good going.
So this is my village here. I'm a health volunteer, but this is an education project, and I'm doing it because we did it because we saw that there was a need for computers, and it came about. I was working with a teacher for scholarships for girls, and he was saying, well, you know, it's a shame that not a lot of girls get the chance to go to school. There's not a heavy emphasis on girls going to school. And he was, you know, he's thinking of what kind of ways can we better the school program so that girls get pulled in, all the kids get pulled in, all the ethnicities. It's a village of various ethnicities get pulled in, and everybody gets a fair chance to get a good education. And he was saying, well, computers would be a good idea. It'd help us organize ourselves. It would save a lot of like energy and time that we use like writing on paper the same things, like changing the grades every year, like every quarter. It would help us to keep up with the kids and make sure that they're making progress in learning. So he said, let's do a computer project, and I said, okay. I had no idea what funds were out there, but I knew I was going to have to do some research. So what I did was I came into the office down in Abidjan, the capital, and I talked to the Peace Corps director, and he was telling me that there was this new fund that just came out from AOL, and that they were giving computers all around the world to Peace Corps worldwide. And he said apply, like it was a fund that had been around for the last year. So I just put an application, not an application, but a proposal form together. I had the teacher sit down and write his own proposal because, I mean, it's them that has to show the impetus for the project, the need, the desire to have it. So I made him, he doesn't have a computer or anything to type with. He just took a ruler, made everything neat, made the lines and all that stuff, you know, stuff he could have been doing with Word, Excel, Microsoft spreadsheet, things that he wasn't able to do except with a pencil. Put all that stuff down in a very nice proposal format without any help from me at all. Like, these teachers, they have so much knowledge and experience with things, and they're exposed to a lot of things, but they don't have any resources. So this computer project was to get them some resources, and so he put the proposal together, asking for computers, asking for access to the internet, various things, and we sent it off. And then of course there was some problems in the States with funding. Washington very often has problems with funding, so it took a little bit more time. And then since September 11th, there have definitely been like a change in government financing for different projects like all around the world, ONGs, different ONGs. So it took a little bit more time than it was supposed to take, but the money finally came, and we went down to Hewlett-Packard. They have an office here. There are a lot of big companies, a lot of big blue chip companies hanging around Abidjan. There's Microsoft, there's Hewlett-Packard, there's Comstar, there's Oracle. And I went down to Hewlett-Packard and I said, we have this project. Is there any way that maybe we can get a discount on some of these computers since it's for an ONG, you know, and we're trying to do something for a village? And they said, sure, and they gave us a discount. It happened to be on promotion, or maybe they put it on promotion, they helped us out. And we were able to get 2 computers, 2 Pentiums. We got the best computers. Like normally, when people get money for a project, they try to get the most with a minimal quality, but I was thinking, well, this is about sustainability, we should get them the best quality and teach them how to use top line type of equipment, because if it's all about advancing them, then we should advance them the furthest that we can go. So I was like, no, we're not gonna get 4 computers with the $5,000 we got. We're gonna get 2 computers, 2 good Pentiums that work really fast, access to the internet, and a printer with 4 functions. It has fax, scanner, print, photocopier, all those things. And there's also a digital camera that's gonna allow them to have conferences, call conferences with classes in Senegal, classes in Cameroon, classes in France, and they'll be able to see what other kids are doing in other classes around the world. They'll be able to communicate, and it'll open up their world to the different possibilities in education. And so, I mean, that's basically it. The process was pretty much simple. It just had to do with a lot of good time and dedication and keeping them, you know, make sure that they had their contribution, because any contribution that we do with the village and Peace Corps, there has to be 35% or 25% contribution from the villagers to show that they're motivated to have a project. And their 35% came in the form of this building that they donated to Computer Center. They're going to refurbish it. They put like a fan. They're going to install a fan in the ceiling. They've installed electricity. They're going to get a computer line for the internet. They put on new doors and iron bars for the windows. And they're just gonna, you know, it's gonna be a great project. And already the chef of the village, the chief, he's really excited about it. He's behind them all the way to, you know, make sure that they have the money to maintain it and keep it going, and that the parents show their support financially, or be it financially or just helping to keep the school together, putting more doors on the classrooms, because a lot of classrooms don't have doors. A lot of the classrooms have holes in the ceilings. I mean, since we've gotten this project, they were talking about how the Minister of Education doesn't even have computers like these, if he has computers at all. The inspector doesn't have a computer. The inspector of this whole region, the region of Dalloway, he doesn't have computers. But they have computers in this small little village where these schools are falling apart. And the person who I worked with, Angel, his name is Angel, and French is Ange, the person who I worked with for the project, he was saying more people that know about this project, the more people that come here and say, well, maybe we should give them something, help them out. Because, I mean, government doesn't help the schools unless the schools help themselves first. And when they see that these people have somehow worked with Peace Corps to get these computers here, and they know how to use them, they're starting to learn more and more about computers, they're going to come here and they're going to renovate the school, and it's just going to get better and better, and these kids are going to have a future to look up to, and especially the girls.
Good.
Get Raven's face when she walks around.
Yeah, get Raven's face when she walks around the corner. That's a good idea. Where is she? Oh, she's not. Here's your chef. Do your little salute to him. Good salute to chef.
Where is he?
Le chef est là. Le chef est là. Oh! Il attend du
You want to keep going?
Bueno, dale.
Padre, muy ya. An sagre gi. Kir mayale. Kir may. Ma abia mane. America. Bu no. Bu ma ga sagre. Anam. Ambia ya. Ako.
Alright, we'll go.
Okay.
So I should just start talking about. Okay, I grew up in East Orange, New Jersey. Poor family, but it didn't feel that way. Pretty nice childhood, I think. It's one of my fondest memories. My father's a lawyer. My mother's an artist. My mother's from Massachusetts. My father's from New Jersey. My sister is into computers and science and new age medicine, things like that. Grew up in a black neighborhood, moved to a white neighborhood, then went to a big international school called Georgetown in DC. I majored in Japanese and Spanish, linguistics degree, and I like languages a lot. I like to travel. I've been to Japan, I've been to Spain. Other things about family, or I studied Japanese for a year in Tokyo, and that was cool. I used to. It's been 2 years. I've been in Africa, so now I'm kind of off. My Spanish is definitely gone because French and Spanish are so similar.
Let's talk about why you joined the Peace Corps.
Well, before I had decided to go to the Peace Corps, I was trying to get a job in New York as a stockbroker, and I got the job as a trainee. And I was like, cool, you know, there are cats here making $300,000 every few months, $1 million in a year, $2 million, $3 million. And I was like, you know, maybe I could try that, make some money. And I got there, and I got into this meeting for the trainees, and I looked around. Everybody had the same thing on, the same tie, the same shirt, the same penny loafer shoes. They were all male, they were all young, and they were all white. And the only minority that was there, like, she tried to act like I wasn't there. She didn't acknowledge me or anything, and that kind of threw me off, you know. I was like, maybe this is not my world. Like, you know, I want to make money, I want to have certain things, but maybe this is not the way to do it. And so I was like, maybe I need to go to Africa and just learn about something that nobody tries to learn about. I don't think many people know about Africa, so I thought that I would go. And especially being African American, you know, see what makes black folks different from other folks in America.
Talk about your experiences doing stage.
My experiences doing stage, I was okay. Like, I'd always been like the only black person in the class, you know. So being the only black person in stage, it didn't bother me in the beginning. And I remember talking on the phone with my mother and her saying, you know, are you the only black person? Are there any black people there? And I was like, no, but, you know, it's okay. Like, I'm used to that. I went to Georgetown. Like, only black person in the class most of the time. I'm only black person that majored in Japanese in the whole university. Like, it's no problem. It's not a big deal. And she was like, oh, you know, she's like, sorry. She was just sad. And I was like, no. Like, I couldn't understand why she was, you know, sad and stuff. But then, like, time went on, and it was just hard because coming to Africa, but then having to do training, like, I still had to deal with the people that I was with, and they were all white. So it was just like this weird thing of being back in Africa as a black person, but in a group of white folks, and having to deal with them, not really even getting a chance to deal with Africa because of the language barrier. So it's like I almost felt like I hadn't gone anywhere. And it was like a huge culture shock in a lot of ways. It wasn't what I wanted. I didn't really expect anything, but I didn't expect to be like dealing with white and black, like going back. Like maybe dealing with the color issues just amongst black folks because I'm light skinned, but not like going back to Africa and dealing with my own thing and then dealing with like white folks not wanting to deal with my thing because they thought, you know, well, she's the only black person and that's her problem. It's not our problem. Like they didn't see it as representative of the dynamics of American society and like how things work and like who normally gets certain types of opportunities and who sees those as opportunities because of their backgrounds. So that was a difficult time for me.
Okay. What was your relationship like with the other stagiaires in your group?
Interestingly enough, the person that I got along with the most, that I didn't think I would, was this girl from North Carolina. And you know, everybody sees, you know, this person talking all country, southern, white person. They might call him a cracker or like something like that, and they think that, oh, a southerner, like southerner is the last person a black person is going to get along with. And I got along with her perfectly. And, you know, I think that black people are southern when I hung out with her because we had so much in common. And we had the same sense of humor. It was like, I felt like she was one of my best friends there. But she didn't stay. I don't know why she didn't stay. She left.
And amongst others in the group, how's your relationship?
The group was just so different. Everybody was different age, had studied different things. Some were married, some were not married. Some were into art, some were into science. Like, it's just totally different mindsets. That on top of the fact that we're coming from totally different cultural backgrounds, different states. Nobody's from the same state. It was just so many things different going on that we were really just strong personalities, and it was hard for us to have like any type of training unity together. And even to this day, we're not really that tight of a group.
And speaking to some of the people who were in stage with you, a lot of them, when I say the name Raven, they were like, when in stage, she was always mad. She was always angry. She wasn't happy with anybody.
That's interesting.
You don't agree?
I mean, I'm wondering why they would say that. I was just confused. I didn't understand how a white person could come to Africa in a place that had just been colonized, not 50 years ago, and not want to think about race at all. Not want to think about some of the issues that Africans are going through today, and a lot of the reasons why they need development because of colonization and things like that. And there were just like a lot of issues that I thought were just very prevalent and in your face that they didn't want to deal with because they felt like they were victims. And so whenever I thought that there was an issue that should have been touched, I would talk about it. And a lot of people would be irritated. But, you know, it's like, how can you be in an ice cream shop and not eat ice cream? Is what I was trying to do. People would come into this ice cream shop and they would just sit there and not eat anything that was there.
And how was it for you when you first arrived in your village?
It was flat. I just came and my house wasn't ready, and it was kind of like my counterpart. I think he just kind of saw me as just another one of the women in the village. He just threw me down and left. Didn't like ask me how I was doing. Didn't take care of, you know, like my housing situation or anything like that. I got malaria on like the first few days that I was there in the village. Like, it was hard. It was terrible.
And how did the village react to you? African-American woman, light-skinned woman coming in their village as they're American.
Well, they saw me. They were like, well, she's not from here because she can't speak any of the languages that are in the village. But we don't want to call her American because she kind of looks like us. She's single. She's not married. She doesn't have any kids, and she has a lot of money. But she's like us. What can she do for us? Like, I had a hard time developing relationships with the women and getting their respect, and also being young. And so, I mean, there are a lot of color issues. People put like stuff on their skin to make themselves lighter, and that's always been an issue here until this day. There are a lot of like inferiority complexes, and now I have great relationships with the women because I've always been open and honest. And the Bete ethnicity, they're a very open ethnicity, so any problems that I had, you know, I could always vocalize them, and they could always have an exchange. So that helped out our relationships. But it was difficult in the beginning, being a black woman coming to an African village and trying to integrate.
Okay. What would you say was your lowest point of your Peace Corps experience?
My lowest point, trying to think. Well, I don't know if this is the lowest point, but one morning I went to go, bugs are eating me up. I went to go get some beans off the road, and people had been up all night long because they were having a party for somebody who died. I mean, that's how they do it in Africa, you know, they celebrate the death instead of mourn it. I mean, they celebrate the life of the death instead of mourning the death. So they had been up all night dancing and drinking, and there's this one guy, he's kind of, you know, crazy or whatever. And so they're all hanging out by like the food in the morning, getting breakfast and stuff, and I go and get my beans, and he's saying, I just come back from a run, and I was still in my shorts. And he said, "Mais toi tu es sale." He said, "You're dirty. Why don't you go and wash yourself?" He's like, "I don't know how you guys do that in France, but we don't do that." We don't do that here. And he's just on and on. And he's pulling my arm, like being aggressive and all this stuff and pushing me. And I'm standing there and I'm like hoping the woman at least is going to save me some beans on the side because I'm hungry. And she sees I'm getting like aggressed by this guy who's kind of crazy. I mean, everybody knows he's crazy. That's why they just let him do his thing because he'll just hurt you or whatever. But anyway, he's just coming from a totally different vein. And I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to say. Couldn't speak to him in his own language. And he was yelling at me in his. Thought I was from France. I'm from America. Didn't know anything about me. I didn't know what to do, how to defend myself. And by the time he finished, all the food was gone. Just had to go back to the house. And I just fell down on the floor and started crying. And that was my lowest point, I think. Maybe not my lowest point, but just like feeling like I couldn't defend myself and who was going to be around me to defend me. And to this day, nobody, I mean, just recently, I mean, none of the other volunteers in my stage, they ever came to visit me in my village. I've been out to their villages. They never came to visit me. I mean, maybe because they think that I was always complaining about like the difficulty in my village. But I think the difference was that they had difficulties that they didn't communicate necessarily. And I was kind of depending on them for, you know, moral support. And it didn't work out that way. So I always came across as angry or confused or sad or mad or something like that.
What kind of difficulties did you see them experiencing?
I think I saw them experiencing things that they didn't think they were experiencing. They didn't think that they were experiencing. Being a minority for the first time. White folks come here to Africa and they, you know, want to have a good time and learn about things, but also they don't see how their presence affects the situation that they're in, and how the color of your skin is very important in Africa, I think, or at least in Cote d'Ivoire, and it affected a lot of their experiences while they're here. And as a result of them being a minority for the first time, a lot of them early terminated, didn't finish their service. And I think that if they knew that that was an issue, being a minority, if they knew that that was an issue, they would have been able to deal with it, talk about it, and maybe stay.
Okay. What would you consider as your highest point for your service?
My highest point? I think it sounds bad, but my highest point is always just making that decision to get up and leave my village. Like, take a break. Like, not force myself to do too much or to get along with so many people. I think being a volunteer in the Peace Corps is like being a senator or being the president. Like, you have to please so many different kinds of people, and you can't ever really show your real face because you need everybody's respect. Like, you're there to help them, and their problems are your problems. So whatever shit that they give you, you got to take it, and you got to work around it, and you got to help them get the things that they need, because it's all about development of people who have nothing. And people who have nothing very oftentimes can be angry or sad or bitter, and they might put it on you, but you have to realize it's not you. And so I think my highest point is just like giving myself a break, like not being too hard on myself and staying here.
When I say the words Peace Corps diversity, what comes to your mind?
Peace Corps diversity? I think I have met some pretty cool people in the Peace Corps. despite the fact that it's not diverse racially, it's very diverse, like, in terms of mentalities, what people think about the world, what people think about different cultures. And I met some pretty cool people. But in another way, I mean, Peace Corps diversity, I don't think it's been given a chance. I think it's just starting to be really more diverse. I mean, there's diversity of mind, and then there's diversity of experience and interaction, not limiting yourself to one or another thing. I mean, nothing really comes to mind. I can't say that Peace Corps is so diverse in the sense that most people think of diversity, but it is diverse in, you know, in personality.
So, you've been here for 2 years now. You had your lowest point for that beam incident. One of your highest points is when you get up and leave to go somewhere. And now you're going to get up and leave for good. What's going on in Raven's heart? What's going on in Raven's mind?
It's a happy day.
Why?
It's time to go. I mean, it's not like the people who stay here for 3 or 4 or 5 years. I think those are the people who think that they're never going to come back to Africa. Like, I've had my 2 years with Peace Corps. That's another thing. I'm going to come back to Africa, but it'll be for something else, or it'll be for something wider, and it'll be freer, and I'll have more resources. So I'm ready to go. I'm ready to leave Peace Corps. I'll definitely come back to Africa, but there's just so many places that I want to go, so it's time to go.
How do you feel about your personal relationships with people in your village and so forth?
You can't have great relationships with everybody in the village. Just like in life, there are 1 or 2 people that you're really great with. Some people have a whole bunch of friends. Like, I have a few great friends who take care of me that I can definitely almost depend on. Definitely. And I'm glad for that. I don't have great relationships with everybody. Most people are acquaintances. I love children in the village. Children wherever you go are just so, like, full of hope. And that's something that has motivated me for the last 2 years to stay here. But I mean, when you're down and out on your luck, it's just like, it's hard for you to look up and see somebody who's trying to help you, or somebody who wants to be your friend. And so, I mean, I've had a hard time integrating in the village and getting to know people, but I've tried really hard, and I think I have succeeded in a lot of ways, just as one person.
Okay. What advice, if any, would you give to future volunteers, current volunteers, people in your stage group, in your training group, or COSing now? What advice, if any, would you give them?
I would just say, when you decide to do something, just hang out and finish what you started. That's all.
Okay.
And don't feel pressured to run away. Like, take some time for yourself. Because life is long and it's short also, so, you know, do what you want to do.
What's next for Raven Moore?
I want to go to Japan and teach some little kids English in a village somewhere, hopefully. And get back to the Japanese that I lost, that I was speaking for the last 4 years before I came here. And possibly, on the linguistic studies side of it, compare Asian languages with African languages. Because I have found some comparisons, but I haven't, like, solidified my observations with stuff.
Alright, Raven Moore. You answered this question once before, but I don't know if your answer might have changed in the past few weeks. Where is the American?
The American is all over the place. I don't think that America is really a country so much as a refuge for people looking for something different, like looking to create their own identity. And I think anybody can be an American. And I know I'm an American. Some people don't feel that they're American for whatever reason, but from traveling all over the world and just like comparing myself with this person, that person from a different culture, I realize that there's definitely an American culture, and I embrace that.
Thank you very much.
So Raven, that's cool. I didn't get to see that. Okay, go ahead.
Try to do it slow.
So you play with Charlie, that might be good having it, but I think it's gonna be kind of squish.
I didn't offer it because I wanted it. I didn't move it. I didn't see if you wanted it.
Give me a favor.
Where is she? I can't see her. She's okay.
You can actually live by the car looking back this
Nasty.
On the train, don't know when I'll be back again.
You have to pay for the rights for that? You can't sing that, kid.
Whoa! Vitamin A! She's always like, man, you got vitamin A and B. Like, you on form.